So we're back. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to those of you viewing from home, and welcome to those of you who came out this evening. We'll start with public participation. Do I have anybody? Okay, well, we'll move on to approval of minutes. Minutes of October 23rd, public session. So moved by Mrs. Moran.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cardinal. Discussion on these?
I have two. On page 5, it was the DRA, not the DOE. It was referencing that Ms. Garaville contacted the DRA, not the DOE.
Thank you.
And then on page 7, I didn't hear that the kids did a great job. I actually saw them doing and witnessed them doing a nice job at the Ocean Discovery Day.
No, that's right, yeah. Anything else? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor as amended? Aye. Abstain?
I'm going to abstain.
Non-public session 1 from October 23rd.
Move to accept.
Moved to accept by Mrs. Cardinal.
Second.
By Ms. McElhenney. Discussion on these. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. One abstention?
Abstain.
Non-public session 2 from October 23rd. So moved by Mrs. Moran, second by Ms. McElhenney. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Abstain? Non-public session, was it just 4, sorry, 4, October 23rd. There was 3, I thought it was 3, sorry, that's why.
I thought we did
I thought we just did 1, 2, and then we went
Right.
3, sorry. October 23rd, non-public session 3. So moved by Mrs. Cardinal, second by Ms. McElhenney. Discussion on these. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
One abstention. And non-public session 4 from October 23rd.
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Moran,
Second.
second by Mrs. Cardinal. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. And one abstention. Okay, reports, financial report.
If you would like to start with the all funds revenue report, which is on the Google Drive. The tax rate has been set, and under line 1, you'll notice now it's been populated by a revised budget figure of $7,074,095, and that's our district assessment. The only other change would be on line 17 under catastrophic aid. Originally, we thought we would receive about $133,000. All figures are calculated out, all the invoices are calculated out of all placements throughout the state, and so catastrophic aid, our share would be $76,459. So that's the only other adjustment that's been made there. That's all I really have on revenue. If you would like to take a look at the general fund.
Questions on the revenue report?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody?
This is somewhat related, and I don't know if maybe it's a question I need to ask Mr. Capello, the administrator for the town, but in the last actual budgeted expenses and encumbrances report from the town, they had taxes paid to school districts as $7,174,096.
$100,000 more?
It's 100 and
Yeah.
$100,001 more than what we receive. Do you think that has to do with
That's
the
your state
warrant article?
education grant. So, in other words, the state education grant is paid through property tax bills. And under line 16 of this report, we will be receiving, when the town sends us our checks, it will be the sum of line 16 and line 1. So the local tax effort of $7,074,000, just for round purposes, and then the $1,019,540, all of that will be cut to checks to us. Could that possibly be the
Doesn't.
figure?
No,
it
it's an
doesn't.
additional decimal place.
Yeah.
So my figures come from the Commissioner of Revenue,
Yeah.
in which, when they set the tax rate, I uploaded that to the Google Drive.
Okay, we have another budget
So-
committee meeting on
Okay.
November 15th, so I'll bring that up with Mr. Capello.
Okay.
I would be speculating as to what the 100,000 is.
Just-
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to go forward on the expenditure report, I did have to make one small correction that does not actually affect budget-wise, and that was on a particular correction of a salary where it was posted. So this morning I uploaded a BudStat report. It's titled General Fund 11/6/2017. And let me see, from our previous meeting, I did upload to you responses on questions that Mrs. Moran had regarding some of the variances on the last, let me see if I can find this on the drive. I don't know if you want me to talk about those corrections, or if I turned it right over to you for questions. I need to find those on the drive.
Yeah, go ahead and
All right, let me see if I can find those responses on the
try
drive.
my questions first.
Let me see.
That might be it.
This is my book, because I was brought it on here.
It's warrant article number 14.
Let me just find that.
Or going to, country might as well remember.
I need to find
That's
them on
just
the
what I don't like
drive.
about this and papers, is I can't go from here to there and split my screen.
Bear with me.
That's
Our
okay.
last meeting was, let's see, on the
October 23rd.
23rd.
And let's see. Okay. Let's see, explanation of line items. So what I did was I put a report in under that particular meeting,
Oh, it's in on the 23rd?
right in on the
Okay.
23rd.
Okay.
So, under line 105, let's see, there was one special education teacher that should have been charged to location 12. And so what we've done is we've made an adjustment on that. Let's see. Should be charged at location 12 and the savings to cover it. So there was a correction that was made. I'm going to have to funnel down and look at that correction because 3642 is still a variance showing. Let's see, there was a question on line 150. There was a negative variance there, and just 2 teachers had been charged there and should have been charged to a different retirement line.
So they just moved.
Yeah. Yeah. Is everyone finding my notes from that? Okay. Let's see, line 486 was where we had to make some swaps on where a particular assistant principal had been charged to, and that has all been rectified. And it also affected lines 502 and 509. Let's see. Line 684, we had a positive variance for energy, and that particular piece for Constellation Energy, who provides our third-party supplier. That was line 684. So that has been corrected. And then what we do with our utility encumbrances is that we monitor that encumbrance throughout the year and see, okay, how much are we throughout the school year? What are our peaks? What are our valleys? And do we have enough money budgeted for our utilities? So that gets measured against the encumbrances. Let's see.
So you made all these corrections, though?
Yes, they have been. I don't know, do you want me to read any further, or?
No.
Pardon me?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right. And so if there's still other items that do still need to be encumbered. For example, line 732, we have the 47-passenger lease. That payment is actually $19,919. And so that payment's not due yet. That'll be due, I believe, in around March or so. And let's see. We still do have longevity to encumber for. Our payroll staff is working on those. We'll entertain other questions that you have.
Any questions on expenditures?
Not that I can see this time.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay. I do have the last report, which is grant special revenue funds, which is still pretty straightforward. This is all up to date with all of our active grants right now. I think the last one that's coming online is probably the robotics grant.
And there's one more that I need to tell them about, too.
Okay, all right. So I really don't, that's about all I have to report as far as the special revenue fund.
What section will the robotics grants go into?
It will be its own little,
What do we call it?
own little number.
1410 or
It'll
something?
it'll have an account number because it's its own, actually, it shows up on the grants portal as 3 separate little grants because there's one for each school.
Yeah.
And then we did get word on Friday of last week. Nope. The Friday, when was that? Long time ago. A storm ago, on the 27th.
A while back.
A storm ago. The principals, Melissa LaFave, our curriculum coordinator, and I went with a team of teachers to Keene State, and we were given word by the DOE that we're going to be receiving additional funds for focus and priority this year. So there will be some additional revenues there coming in. And we should be seeing those soon, which is DOE speak for as soon as we can get it to you, but don't hold your breath. So, and those need to be expended between now and September 30th of next fall. So they are short-lived grants, but we will be receiving additional funds there, so.
What will those funds go toward specifically? Well,
Those funds will specifically be for school improvement and community engagement as we're looking at being in a position where we're no longer focused on priority schools. So, and they keep shifting the gears on us, and so this will be our first year with a new set of tests again, and we've been told the metrics should be pretty close, but it remains to be taken to find out exactly how close that metric ends up being, and then they'll see where we're going from there on our shifts from there.
Anything else? No? Okay, thank you. We have the family update. Somebody else, if you just want to take the podium, yeah.
Good evening. My name is Martha Whitehouse, and I'm the director of the FAME program. Our summer program, which ran July 5th through August 11th, was a great success, with 29 students in attendance at Henry Wilson and 18 students in attendance at Valley View. We participated in 2 field trips each week, attending state parks as well as educational experiences. Some of our educational trips included the Blue Ocean Discovery Center in Hampton, the Seacoast Science Center, Dover Bowl, and the Willen Ponds Rope Course. Valley View was also able to visit the Dover Children's Museum for STEM Week. Our students couldn't wait for the fall. They love FAME. FAME is off to a great start this year. We started on September 11th with 42 students at Valley View and 18 students at the middle school and 24 students at the high school. We passed out 25 registration forms during open house at both the elementary and the middle school, and they were all taken with people asking for more. Parents indicated that they were pleased with the fact that FAME is located in the school as opposed to their children having to walk down to the town hall. They're also very interested in the homework assistance that we offer, as the rec department offers something totally different. Some of the projects that we're working on this year include a pen pal project that the Valley View students are working on with students at Colfax Elementary in North Carolina. They've written letters to the students at Colfax Elementary introducing themselves. They have also included photos so the students in North Carolina have an idea of who they're corresponding with. And this is a great way for our students to practice penmanship, spelling, and letter writing. Other activities that Valley View is working on this session include art, fitness, nutrition, science and engineering, and on Friday we offer a round robin, which is 4 different activities that they get to partake in. These change weekly, so they never know what's going to happen on Friday. Henry Wilson is working on an outer space unit where they're exploring the planets and their relationship to Earth. Different types of rockets and how they work are also being studied. This unit incorporates a lot of academic areas that students are exposed to during the school day, such as math, scientific inquiry, reading, and peer collaboration. Other activities at Henry Wilson this session include art, fitness, nutrition, world exploration, into outer space, and science. Session 2 starts Monday, November 13th, and I am anticipating more students to join the program as fall sports are coming to an end, and we are in the process of adding the robotics piece at the high school with components to follow at the elementary school and the middle school as well. Hands-on learning is an essential component to the FAME program.
Any questions for Ms. Whitehouse?
The dates for each session, how far in advance do you set those?
Those are actually set in September.
Oh, okay, could those get published somewhere? For the various groups?
Sure.
Just so that families know how long of a break in between there is between particular sessions and whatnot.
Not a problem.
Sorry, one other
Yeah.
question. Thank you for giving the enrollment numbers by school for the current session. Is it at capacity, or do you still have more
No,
space?
we are not at capacity at the moment. We still have plenty of space available.
Okay. Great. All 3 schools?
All 3 schools?
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks. Okay,
So as we go into budget,
yeah.
I did get my dates a little bit mixed up. Instruction curriculum won't be tonight because Mrs. LaFave is in Springfield at a Power School workshop. And so, as she's not able to be here in 2 places at once, and I was thinking a week ahead and wrote everything up, and then she texted me this morning after this had gone out and said, you know I'm in Springfield, right? Whoops, so my mistake.
Okay. All right, take it away.
All right. So as we're looking at the budget for next year, first pieces are, as I have been talking for the last several months, looking at our strategic innovations plan and where that's going and laying that as our foundation. We did a survey to the community. A number of different stakeholders responded for us last spring, and this is a draft of our broad goals based on the survey results. The 5 areas of the plan roughly fell into facilities, achievement, curriculum, community, communication/relations, and technology. And so this is where the goals are based, and budget then supports those goals. Under facilities, these are roughly 10-year plans or through 2027. For facilities, buildings to be in good repair with all systems on a regular maintenance and replacement schedule by 2027. Access road to the high school in Valley View for secondary egress in place by 2027. Roofs replaced for Henry Wilson by 2023. High school by 2025, and a plan for Valley View by 2027. 2027 will be about the 25-year anniversary for Valley View. So at that point, we're going to need to have a plan in place for what's going to happen there. Hopefully, we won't need to actually be doing it that year. For achievement, we're looking to complete the portrait of a Farmington graduate by late 2018. Assessment scores to place Farmington students in the top 50% of students by 2022 and the top 10 by 2027, and we are still discussing what metric may be used there, whether it's the state assessments or another assessment. The state is in the process of shifting to what components actually make up that state assessment piece. It's not just the test, it also includes graduation rate, it includes achievement rates for AP, SAT, all sorts of things. So where that falls out, we're still working on. Percentage of graduates with post-secondary placement plans, whether it's college, vocational, career, military, 100% of our graduates by 2027 have plans in place when they cross that stage that this is what they're planning to do. Curriculum, we're looking by 2020 for an adoption and review schedule, vertically aligned curriculum in place. NEASC site visit complete for the high school. There should be another bullet there. Full competency-based grade reporting for high school by 2022, 2027 for Henry Wilson and Valley View. For community relations, communications plan and regular feedback loops in place for information delivery to community and return comment by 2020. By 2022, community perception survey will have 70% positive responses. By 2027, the same survey will show 90% positive responses. That survey has not yet been identified. That's not the one that we sent out in the spring. That was really more to get an idea of where people's priorities were as far as what we needed to be moving forward with. This survey would be more in line with, although maybe not exactly the same as the Endicott survey that's used for the NEASC accreditation process. So it's an opportunity for people to give us feedback on a number of factors and how satisfied or not they are with what's going on there. And then with technology, by 2021, high school's fully one-to-one with technology implementation, middle school one-to-one by 2023, and Valley View by 2025. And we're looking to upgrade security systems by 2020. We have a state security audit sometime this winter, hopefully completed by December, but we're still waiting on a date for that. So as far as broad goals, these are, kind of give a foundation for where we're looking to go. In that, the budget that is proposed by object code, our instructional programs and instructional support, 41% of the budget, pupil support and special education, 29%, transportation, 4%, facilities, 10%, general administration, 1%, technology 2, school administration 7, and the ubiquitous other is 1% of the budget. We have some savings as we look at some of our larger ticket items. We also have built this budget based on the need to move forward. If our previous budgets had fully supported exactly where we needed to be, we'd be there, and we're not. These budgets weren't built on the idea of ask for everything. This was looking to see what we need to move forward so that we can be responsible with what we have, making sure that we have a regular rotation for our maintenance, for our curriculum, for all of those pieces so that nothing is a surprise. These are pieces that I've been talking to the board regularly about since I started here in Farmington, and I'm not looking to pull anything out of a hat. These are pieces that we need to do. We have had a great deal of money returned to the town over the last several years, and those monies frankly reflect an awful lot of deferred projects and maintenance that's been postponed. And we have some catch up to do. So as you look at the overall budget, tonight's proposal shows an increase of 2.49% over last year's budget. I'm going to let those who are presenting to you tonight give you some of the details, and then I will entertain questions. Tonight, I'm going to have the 3 principals and our special education director present their portions of the budget, as those are the major portions of what you see before you. Okay. Sounds good. So
We'll start with high school.
we can start with the high school.
Dr. Moore?
Good evening, just give me a second to set up a computer here.
Okay.
Yes,
You've got more technical help than you'll know what to do with.
While she's setting up, can I just ask a question about goals?
Sure.
How did we arrive at the year by which we want to accomplish certain things? Talk a little bit about that process. And the reason I ask is one jumps out at me, and it's the access road.
Right.
I feel like we've really dodged a bullet for the last 15 years, and do we want to try to keep dodging it for another 10?
I would love to
Yeah.
have it sooner.
Yeah.
And actually, I had someone call me yesterday saying, isn't there any way you can put in an access road? And I would love to do that now. One of the things I'm hoping with our security audit, I can't apply for Homeland Security funds or grants until our security audit is finished with the state. I'm hoping that once that is done, that might be something that is flagged that puts us in line to access those funds. And in such case, I would much rather not wait until 2027 to get that finished. But right now, my rough estimates, because wetlands are going to be involved, is that it's going to be at least $750,000 to put in that road. And so, knowing that we have a number of other projects, that's a fairly hefty price tag for me to plop into the raise and appropriate category right off the bat. On the other hand, yeah, I agree. It's something that we need to do. I'm tempted to, hire folks with machetes who want to hack down some trees. I'm not sure how else to do this, but.
State security audits something new?
They are fairly new.
Okay.
And those have to be completed before we, like I said, before
Right.
we can apply for those funds. Basically, they want to know that we have certain things in place, that our admin team has been through incident command training,
Yeah.
and we have.
Okay.
That we have done, that we have at least flagged that there are certain issues that are a higher priority to fix than others. I have a number of things that I'm really interested to see what they have to say about.
Yeah.
Some things that wake me up at night, but I want to make sure that they wake somebody else up too. So,
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Dr. Moore?
Good evening. I have about 5 quick slides to share with you, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the part of the budget that I'm kind of charged with. I will preface the point that Ruth Ellen gave me a challenge at the beginning when I first started here that said build the budget from 0 up. And that was interesting considering I had no history of where money had been spent here or what was here in place. So I went through a process of talking with my teachers, my big department heads, and giving them the task of telling me what they needed and then additional what they wanted. The sum total of that effort, then I matched up to where I thought we needed to go in order to do something different at Farmington in order to improve our stance. So I took a look to the school's mission statement. If we really want to be global participants and be a connected part of the society, we needed to make some moves in that direction. So I used that as a catalyst to pull this budget together for you. Sum total there is that in the academic 1100 areas, we're about $31,000 less than had been proposed last year. The grand total over the whole budget for the high school is down about $16,000. I gave that with a view towards 21st century access for our students. The first part of that, you'll see there's a major increase in a science supply line of roughly $4,500. That material is for sensors that they can use within field experiments, within laboratory experiments, but it's electronic and really it fits into what students need to be familiar with if they're looking to go into science or STEM careers, looking at high school classes, moving to college courses, and this is the equipment they should be familiar with. This equipment fits in and matches up very nicely with the next part of the proposal, which is a Chromebook for all students. We've done a little bit of research, we've made a few inquiries about quotes, but we can be one-to-one next year, and that's the first step of being told one-to-one implementation by 2021, as we need to get the computers in students' hands and train our staff. One-to-one gives you an opportunity to leverage instruction. It gives us an opportunity to personalize instruction for students, and it really gives kids an opportunity to connect and take command of their own learning. Now, it's not a cheap price, but it's not super expensive either. It's probably best done over a phase of 3 years, of roughly $22,000 over the course of 3 years for a lease program for one-to-one computers. Now, you may ask, what's the plan for some of the computers that are currently in the building? We're going to share those. We're not going to keep them. They're real new. They were purchased last spring, and this was spec'd off of that same specs.
Well, the ones that were purchased last spring are Chromebooks that would be
Yes.
kept here. The other pieces would go.
Yes.
Yeah. Chromebooks stay put.
Additional parts that you'll see in the budget, and I'll just let you look at this slide. There's some other increases in there. A NEAS study needs to be done with an Endicott survey, so you'll see an increase of about $1,400. $1,000 of that is for the community survey. Another $400 is given towards staff members to attend the meetings so we can help interpret them and make sure that goes out. Another part of the budget is also for the dues for NEAS. That's roughly a little over $3,000, $3,600 for fees towards NEAS so that we can stay current with them while we go through a self-study process. Another part of the major program, and that's what this slide's about, is a behavior service plan, where we can start looking at students' behavior both socially, academically, and behaviorally, and keep our opportunities to work with these students in-house. It's an all-school plan designed to fit around the needs of all students, not any one given population. I see it as a very fluid type program where students and staff can move in and out of a planned activities for them. We develop a sort of a coaching model that students will have plans that are not like an IEP, but will be somewhat short-term, and it's very goal-oriented and given towards their specific needs. What I don't have right now is the paraprofessional that would help support that program. Through a reallocation of student or staff services, I think we can pull this program together very, very easily. I see that it's aimed at student engagement, keeping students in school, keeping them actively engaged in their education so they progress towards graduation. The other part of the budget that's not here, and it's the final slide for you, is a redo of our weight room. There's a plan I have pulled together. It could be a 4-year phased-in plan that has a cash value of about $13,000. Or if you do it all at once, there's a shorter plan for around $12,000. We're just looking for a little bit of a direction there. It would be comprised of equipment that looks very similar to the 4 items that I've shown you here. Some it's for the storage of weights. There's a couple different type of pull stations, but they're for individual student use. And it appears to be that this is the only kind of equipment that would fit in the currently designed weight room. If you're familiar with that space, it's really kind of 2 spaces with an adjoining doorway, so it's a little difficult for supervision, but it also precludes any one of those major wraparound type activity weight stations being there, so it has to be a divided space.
And that would be available to all students? It's
Absolutely,
not
all
just-
students, all
right.
athletes, anybody that could be in athletics or in physical education courses. You'll see that there's some decreases in the budget. These were, I just kind of highlighted those items that were increases. Most of the decreases came in classroom supplies that would become obsolete with the use of the Chromebook. And so that's where we would see most of our savings. Markers and pencils and graph paper type ideas would not be necessary if students had Chromebooks in their hands.
And down the road, potentially textbooks and whatnot as well.
Absolutely. I mean, down the road, when we get to 2021, we'll probably be looking at a school that's quite different than what we see right now in terms of what students are able to do and what they connect with and what kind of correspondence, collaboration can occur because they have the technology in hand.
Any specific questions at this point for Dr. Moore?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the overview.
Thank you.
Hey, Wilson.
All right, so if you're looking through the Henry Wilson proposed items, you'll notice a lot of our curriculum materials are increased, in particular our science line. So we are in the process of completely adopting the next gen science standards, and we have a volunteer that's currently been in our building cataloging a lot of our science supplies and finding out things that we do have in our building where they can go within different grade levels, so we can specifically target what we need to purchase in order to meet those standards and completely implement them for next year. So you'll notice there's about $5,000 budgeted for each grade next year to purchase science materials and items that need to support the next gen work. We also have already been in contact with Barbara Hopkins from the state DOE, and she's going to be coming in to work with our teachers later in the year to sort of help us pinpoint what specifically we will need to best implement that. So it's not something we'd be going into blind. It would be a very specific plan of what we would need and what we would have to do. Our music line is also, you'll see an increase there. Just kind of going through the curriculum pieces a little bit first. That is to support the proposed extra halftime person, which with the band and chorus we have some pretty outdated pieces and some scattered kind of pieces that we need to purchase to increase our library, as well as provide a base for our 4th and 5th graders so that they're having that band experience without actually being a part of the band completely all the time. So if we can get kids in at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade after they've had some recorder practice, so that would be getting a one-on-one recorder for each 4th and 5th grader with a book so that they already have the materials to run with that. Our social studies line is also a little bit up this year. For fourth grade textbooks, the current textbook that they're using to teach New Hampshire history is a consumable from about 1995, I would guess. I have to go get that exact date for you. But that's something that we would have to purchase every year for every student. If we purchased our New Hampshire textbook, that would be just a one-time purchase that is an updated version from the early 90s that provides some up-to-date information. And also, the art line is also up. We have a new art teacher this year who is really enthusiastic about wanting to start some after-school activities and during-school activities around pottery. And so that would be the purchase of 4 pottery wheels and a couple other clay pieces that would support that. As well as keeping to increase our foreign language. We now offer it 4 through 8, and students are doing, they're immersed much more in that than they were before in all grade levels, so just having some more things to support what's going on there. And also back to the science a little bit, our 8th grade science lab doesn't exist. It's just tables. And actually it's just desks, the kind of one-arm desks right now, and there's nowhere for those students except for a big counter in the back to work on science experience. The 7th grade science lab exists, so that would be purchasing stations and stools or something for the students to sit at while they're working on experiments. That would be great if we're looking to expand our science. We would have an actual 8th grade science lab. Also technology, we're looking at replacing and upgrading some laptop carts throughout the building into the Chromebooks. It's pretty discouraging if some of our students are on 6 to 7-year-old laptops at grade level carts. We were very fortunate to get those first at Henry Wilson, but now they need to be kind of updated, wasting sometimes 20 to 30 minutes trying to log on to computers to either do STAR testing or just regular everyday work is pretty frustrating on the student and staff part. Also increasing that behavior support area in our building of getting that teacher to support all students and the tier 2 and 3 students in our building, looking to bolster up our student support center. We currently have a paraprofessional that staffs that, not full-time, but her hour time, and getting a certified teacher in there to help support that. We have done a lot of work on PBIS so far this year, and so it would be great to be able to implement all pieces of that by having that tier 2 support and a little bit more support than Mr. Coco and I can also provide to all the students while making everything else continue to expand. So those are our kind of our bigger highlights. We were also very careful about where we were going to spend some things this year. I think our staff was really responsible in asking what they truly needed, and what they're interested in is bolstering up our curriculum and using that work that we've been doing with Understanding by Design and also the PBS stuff to move our students and our school forward.
Any specific questions or comments?
Not at this time.
Are you sure?
Okay. All set?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm still just
Don't be sorry.
absorbing.
Digesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you need things turned back on? What? Do you need things turned back on?
Thanks. Does everybody have a copy?
So I went through and just really summarized what were increases and decreases within my budget for Valley View. Overall, we had an increase of 114, but we decreased by 45, and then we had a transfer of about 10, which was our workman's comp. These were all salary-related items. We did have a big jump in our staff development, course reimbursement. We have several teachers, as we get younger staff, we get more teachers who want to take courses, so that has increased, and I increased our staff development and workshop line to ensure that as our paraprofessionals and our teachers want to take workshops, we have that money in there. We've also increased travel as we've increased our lines. Our supply lines increased by about $300 for art, PE, music, and nurse. We've tried to keep those fairly low. Science supplies, we did increase by about $2,000 this year. We're trying to, we've started to align with the next generation science standards. We're trying to improve some of our materials that we have. Some of the things we're teaching we haven't taught before, so we have no materials for those things. So as we start to do that, we've increased by about $2,000 to cover some of those supplies that we're going to need. The next large increase that was put in was we're starting to improve our technology within Valley View. We currently have just 2 smart boards in our building, so we'd like to add 2 more next year to start to increase some of those and have some of that technology for the kids to use. We're also looking at 1 laptop cart to replace. However, we're also possibly going with the lease, a lease agreement that the high school has looked at, and we could potentially replace 60.
Yeah, you could do 3 carts.
We could do 3 carts or 60 computers for about $400 more than what I had budgeted for 1 replacement laptop cart. So that one could be slightly more if we go with the lease option. But it is to replace, some of our
Annual
computers
cost,
are
not
at the same
cost.
place that Jess's are with the half an hour to get them going and get them up, and they haven't updated or just things like that. So to make things a little more smooth for our students. We did have an increase in our co-curricular. This would cover team leaders for Valley View, and then adding 2 additional drama productions, and this increase includes the FICA and retirement. Assemblies was $50, and then just miscellaneous expenses increased. More staff and salary-related expenses for decreasing the budget, and then non-related printer copier replacement, supplies and books. So some of those things went down for us this year. We tried to be conscious of how much money we were spending, knowing that we wanted to invest in our science curriculum and our technology pieces to really build up that, that part of our curriculum. And then, as I said, we had the transfer from the other ones. So that was our breakdown. That our overall was an increase of $57,000, which is 2.24%. Pretty straightforward. Did you have any questions? Or?
Questions? Comments?
I will eventually on all of these.
You have time. It's okay.
So I'm just warning you guys. I'm just sorry.
No, you're good.
I have a general one. I know that Mrs. Richardson put in the salary increases, or Mr. Dutt did. Is that in every? Was that in the high schools as well?
If you look at their salary lines, it will show increase, decrease.
Okay.
Lines, yeah. And as you look at, for the high school, keep in mind that there is a shift because you have a change in the assistant principal, athletics, dean of students shift
Right.
around. So that has changed. Some of the lines are up, some of the lines are down. You also have a shift as you're looking at the behavioral services model. So there's an increase of a para at the high school, of a teacher at Valley View, and those lines shift from where
Teacher
they
at Henry
are.
Wilson.
Teacher at Henry Wilson, sorry, you're right. And then at Valley View, those 2 positions shift out of special education into behavioral services. So one looks like it's down, the other looks like it's up,
Okay.
but, so.
Thank you. Ms. Tonetto?
I'll draw your attention to a few things, and part of what Ruth Ellen was just discussing was the shift in behavioral services. So you'll see in the lines that 1 line for Valley View has been moved to behavioral support services. So that was a special education teacher there. We do have one also at the high school where the idea is to move a special education teacher into that behavioral support services so that we're addressing the needs of all students. The goal being, as we've heard from the town and we've heard from the board, and we feel as a school district, we want to be able to maintain more students in district as opposed to having to send them out. There'll always be those students that we can't serve here, but we want to be able to make the best effort we can to serve everyone here. We do have the special education coordinator position in there on that first page as well. Continuing on, where you're going to see some really kind of significant drops is in our out-of-district tuition and contracted services lines. Contracted services on page 4 of 9. We've reduced that by $20,000 with the anticipation that we're going to have a reduced number of out-of-district evaluations due to the fact that we're going to have fewer students out of district, that we'll be able to serve those students here in district in terms of their behavioral needs, so that we won't have parents disagreeing with our evaluations and then asking for independent evaluations. I feel like we're going to have a better hold on behaviorally how students are managing. So with that anticipated, we reduced that line. We also reduced the contracted services line at Farmington High School. We've been able to hire someone in district as a paraeducator who can service that student who required previously someone who was more specialized. So you see a reduction there as well.
Because the para has the specialized training.
Has the specialized training that we needed to have. If you look further down, looking on out-of-district tuition on page 5, we have some significant reductions there. Reduction is in all lines. Students as they're getting older, so we have a Valley View student who's now moving into Henry Wilson, and some Henry Wilson students who are moving into the high school line. So that's why you see no one at this time anticipated for next year. That changes as students move into district who might not have previously been here. But our anticipation is that we're going to have reductions of $68,000, almost $50,000, and $126,000 in our out-of-district lines. So we're happy about that, and we hope to be able to maintain that. And the behavioral services portion of that is what's going to help us do that. And then otherwise, there are obviously increases for the CBA, the contracts for teachers and also for paraeducators. We are intending to hire on page 8 an occupational therapist. We have been doing that as a contracted services. We'd prefer to get somebody in-house simply because it's consistency of services, and we have enough work that we feel we can have somebody full-time. So that is what we anticipate doing.
Right now, we have a part-time person.
Part-time person who's doing that. And previously, we had done some contracting in addition. We tried to cover it all with contracting, and it didn't totally work. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to bring our part-time person on full-time. We'll see. Otherwise, we will hire out. So you see a reduction in the contracted services for occupational therapy, and then an increase in the salaries for occupational therapists, and so that accounts for that. So overall, down, did you want me to go over the behavioral services portion, or questions about this first?
I just have a general observation. I mean, you've been throwing out some rather large, significant decreases. However, I do want to point out that it's due to the fact that a lot of these are going to be in-house now, correct? So it's almost a reallocation, and having it in-house should show significant decreases, hopefully going forward.
Yeah. Due to graduation, due to students moving out of district, therefore we're no longer the district of liability, we anticipate that we'll have a much reduced out-of-district number of students. And with the understanding that that's the picture right now, and so try to keep that under control.
Yeah. So is the backup plan should a perfect storm happen? To tap into the reserve fund that we have for special education if we got caught in the middle of the school year, let's say?
If we did, yep.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we typically look, we've had students move into districts this year that have, over the course of the summer that asked, well, we need an out-of-district placement, and no, we tried the student in district, and the student is doing fine. I mean, we've had others where we do in district, and it's, it's a little rocky, but we've hit a spot where we seem like we can continue to make forward progress. So yeah, that's the plan. I mean, there occasionally, as you said, someone will walk in the door that we simply can't serve, but we're doing our best to make that happen.
You said something during initially, and I only caught like a piece of it.
Sure.
About a parent, but the potential of parents disagreeing with the evaluation. Talk about that piece.
Sure. So parents have the right, when they disagree with an evaluation by the school district, to request an independent evaluation at school expense. So they can do that. When they request that, we give them our criteria, which is, it's been passed by the board, which is our criteria for an outside evaluation. Provided that evaluation meets all that criteria, we will then pay for the service. There's a lot of discussion that occurs before that happens. We have had over, I think, last fiscal school year, we had had some times where we had to pay for some outside evaluations. And we're pretty careful about, having a lot of discussions before we're willing to pay that amount of money. But I feel like we're getting better at our behavioral services, and we're also getting better at anticipating those students that are going to be hitting crisis, and being able to kind of really work with those families, partly with community partners, partly due to the new student assistance program that we're going to be working on with the grant, and just due to the addition also of an assistant principal at Henry Wilson. We've been able to make some great strides in terms of addressing those before they become really critical.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. You want to move into the... Was there further on that?
Not unless you wanted me to go over to the behavioral services. I think there's one thing to mention in terms of ESOL services. We have had 3 students move into the district that we anticipate will need ESOL services. Therefore, there is an increase in that area. As has been mentioned already in previous presentations, we do have the addition of a paraeducator that we would be looking for at Farmington High School to support that behavioral program. And then the addition of a behavioral, I've been calling it a coach, behavior teacher, which would be the addition at Henry Wilson Memorial School. And so that kind of encapsulates what you would see on page 1 of 2 for the behavioral services in the ESOL.
Just a logistical question. So where most of the line items under this header, behavioral services, are brand new?
The headers, meaning they're not new positions. So what we have done is we have taken the person.
Line items only.
Yeah, the only, so they're new titles, I think,
Yeah.
is the accurate way to present it, but that the people aren't necessarily new. So for instance, the paraeducator that works at Henry Wilson already in the Student Support Center would be captured under this page of behavioral services.
And that's why in the notes it says this is not a new position, or this is a new position, so that it tries to delineate
Great.
exactly which pieces are where. The rest are transferred to a cost center that makes more sense for what they're actually doing. Trying to also make sure that we have budget lines that reflect where people are going to be looking for things and that they make sense, as opposed to, well, it was called this in 1929, so this is what we're still going to call it.
Any other questions right now? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Because Melissa's not here, we're going to save that. Old business, donations acceptance procedure moving forward.
Yes. As we are looking at robotics and the possibility of donations in other areas as well, wanting to have a procedure in place. Right now, any additional funds that come in need to be officially accepted by the board. And so as we get $5, $10, $50 checks, I can bring them all to you. Or we can have something in place that says, I have the authority to accept on the board's behalf up to this amount, and anything else I can bring to you for your acceptance. I mean, certainly I can give you an update at each, here's the donations that have come in at this point. But I don't know if we want to do every 2 weeks, I have to hold checks until I can get them to you and then take them back and deposit them. And So just looking to see what we can do moving forward.
Anything under 5, sorry.
So we can have the policy committee take a look. The New Hampshire School Boards Association has a sample policy. It is an optional policy. Like some policies are optional and some are required. They do have a draft that we can work off of as a policy committee if that's something that the board would like the policy committee to take a look at what
Do you
other
need a
districts are doing.
specific action right now? I mean, you've already got some checks, I'm assuming? or-
Well, you've accepted a couple, and we have.
I guess I don't remember.
Yeah, there was a $1,000 one and a $50 one that
Oh,
we've
okay.
already
That
accepted.
you've accepted, and we have some more in the pipeline, and I don't
Maybe
know
not.
what those amounts are yet because they haven't crossed my desk. I just
Okay.
know they're coming, and so knowing that that's there, I didn't want to, just be.
The only state law that governs in this arena is anything in the amount of $5,000 or more would require a public hearing,
To accept.
posted in the newspaper 7 days ahead, and the whole ball of wax.
So,
Is
if
that
you
for
want
any-
to donate and you want it, you want the
Any funds
publication.
coming in.
Over 5,000 is
Part of the
great,
process.
we'll take it, we'll make that arrangement.
Oh, yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
we'll figure out a way to do that. Have a meeting.
We're willing to do that.
Yes, we are perfectly willing to
So do
accommodate
you
that.
want something until we have a policy, do you want a motion that you can accept donations up to $500 in lieu of policy?
Sure, and then that way we can get things
That was my
deposited.
motion.
Second.
Second, it's a motion by Penny, second by Angie, but
But we'll
will we
still
get
keep a list.
It'd be
and let
nice
you know
to see a list.
Who and what,
Yeah.
yes.
And any donors are still more than welcome to request that it be anonymous, but
Absolutely.
the amounts.
But the amount has
and
to
the
be
fact that
accepted.
something has come in will still come in.
Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Anonymous.
Most generous people.
Any other discussion on that?
Anonymous meeting.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. All right. We have other.
Well, we have
You sh-
other old business, we have the handbook, the athletic handbook, are we?
Yes, and I put that on for next week because Mrs. Peabody will be here doing the athletic budget as well.
Okay.
And I figured that way she can make
That
one
makes
trip
sense.
and you can ask all your questions at once.
Perfect.
Great, okay. Does anybody have anything else other?
Just something, food for thought. It is somewhat related to the budget proposal that was put forward today. And that is, as we get into one-on-one technology, the implementation, and the fact that a lot of the request is based on a 3-year lease, I guess some flags go up in my head in terms of maintenance and security control of that equipment. Because I'm not sure if the strategy going forward will be, well, that will be the technology department's responsibility, or if it will be more of everyone owns security and control of our valuable equipment.
Absolutely.
So it's more internal procedure, I think, more than policy
I
for the
think
board, but it does.
as we shift the way we do business, we certainly need to shift the way we look at our resources. And, the same as it's general education for everyone and special for those who need something additional. It's not this group and that group. As we look at one-to-one, it's our resources. It's not technology, go deal with that. It's what we use and what we need to be responsible for, and it is going to be a shift. It's going to require some training. It's going to require some shift in the way that teaching is done. But it also opens up an incredible amount of really exciting possibilities. And so I'm looking forward to the challenges. I think I've been in one-to-one environments where it is jointly owned, and I know it can happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing that here.
I have one thing. At homecoming, I was approached by a lovely young lady student at Valley View, Alexis Gomoka, who asked me if the school board could take a look at the fact that there's some kind of hole in the sign at the bottom of her school. I didn't get a chance to go look at it tonight because it was rainy and dark. I wanted to check it out myself, but is there a hole in it?
Yes.
Yes.
There is.
There is.
It's behind some of the flowers right now, so you can't see it.
Right.
And then there's snow that usually covers it.
Right.
In the fall, you can, in the spring, before anything grows, you can see where a plow put a small dent and hole in the
Okay.
bottom of it.
Yeah, for those of you viewing at home, just, Ms. Fredette just explained that there's a little hole in the sign from a plow incident. She was extremely formal with me. It was actually rather interesting, and she wanted to know if we were, apparently she'd asked the PTA at some point, she'd gotten a letter maybe a year or two ago from the PTA about kind of maybe addressing it, and she was concerned that it really hadn't been addressed yet, so could we have Mr. Gordon kind of, have we looked at it? I mean, what's the deal?
Buildings and grounds? You can take it to them.
Certainly, we can look at it and perhaps get an estimate to see what it would take to make it look not quite so dented.
Is it metal?
I believe it is metal at the bottom there.
It is metal, yeah.
And I think the plow front did separate part of the metal from the other part of the metal, so there might be a little bit of welding or soldering that goes on there to make it.
You put a hole in it, and it's the panel, the whole panel needs to be replaced.
Yeah, okay. Well, I really admired the fact that she said, basically what she said to me was, I see it every day when I go to school, I notice it. So I applaud her for coming to me and saying something, and if we could just take a look at it so that we can report back to her that we're going to do something to repair her sign that she likes to.
On the agenda for the 20th or for the 13th? Well, the 13th is a workshop, so the 20th?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
yeah.
Sounds like we found our future student representative.
Yeah, hey, take her now too. She could be
Yeah, she should come on up.
I actually invited her to tonight's meeting through her grandmother, and she had gymnastics, so she couldn't make it, but she would like to come to a meeting according to her grandmother, so we're gonna have her here someday to talk a little bit about the sign, so, nice young lady. Public participation. If you hadn't got up, I was gonna say, what's going on? Are you feeling all right?
All right, well, Stephen Henry, member of the Budget Committee, but not here representing them. So, just came to listen to the presentations. I did like seeing science added, some increases in science in there, except Ms. Denino kind of let me down there. She didn't have any science added.
Sorry. I let them do that.
And then the draft here, Strategic Innovation Plan. Some of these dates, I'm not thinking about the access road, but the curriculum plans, and some of these seem a little further off than they would necessarily have to be. I think some of these things, the curriculum and stuff, we could probably do sooner than 2020. I think I'll admit, I don't know what's involved with those things, but I would think that some people would look at that and say that's too far out and we can do that sooner. So, and I don't know as it's necessarily a budgetary item, it's just a priority item, whether or not that gets shifted. So, and then on the Chromebooks, I know certainly at budget time, if I don't learn before, I'd be curious to know how that one-to-one, the computers assigned to every student that they take home and stuff, when that started, always concerned me. Is it, from a cost perspective, damage, effectiveness, and things like that? But so many schools have done it before us now. We're certainly not leading anybody, so I'm curious as to how have we researched how that's worked elsewhere? How has it worked? What does it look like elsewhere, cost-wise, damage-wise? From the people that have gone before us, what have we learned?
A great deal. And I would say with that, it doesn't necessarily mean that the first year the Chromebooks would necessarily be going home right away either. I think there can be some soft step in while we figure out some of the moving pieces. Certainly there are a number of ways to do it, and if you look at cost, one statistics book is about $270. And so if you're looking at the loss of a statistics book or the loss of a Chromebook, it's almost a wash. And so when you start to look at some of those pieces, again, it's an important investment, but, you know, we tend to put this as, it's a much more sensitive and expensive piece of equipment than what they're carrying in their backpacks. But some of those kids, particularly in AP classes, are probably carrying $800 worth of textbooks around anyway. This is cheaper.
Okay. The computer maybe, but...
And later.
And lighter. Yes, better on their backs, not the local chiropractors.
If we start putting the textbooks on them, I don't know, if the textbooks themselves will be much cheaper. Having purchased digital college books, they seem to be as expensive, and I can't buy used ones, which cost me more. I know that doesn't factor in here, so.
Right.
Okay, I'd be I want to hear more about how it's worked in other schools in New Hampshire and elsewhere. I think Maine was a pioneer in this, at least in our area,
And
so.
having been in a one-to-one
I think, yeah.
district in Maine for 3 years, I've seen it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were they Chromebooks or were they real PCs?
Actually, they had moved from PCs to iPads, and they'd done both,
Okay.
so.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Anybody else? All right, so our next, we have a workshop next Monday. Here, are we gonna still?
We can be here or Henry Wilson, whichever you prefer.
Does the board have a?
Oh, good.
I mean, why did we go down there to begin with? I'm trying to think.
I think it was a change of venue, and somebody said it was closer to my office, not that it really mattered.
Oh, well, that's always good.
It is a little less to
easier
drag back and
for
forth,
presentation purposes.
Yeah, it's
Wouldn't-
probably 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
We have a smart board.
And it's not gonna be, well, let's visit Henry Wilson again then
Okay.
next week, and
See
that's
another-
it.
See another room.
That's at 6?
6 is fine.
6 PM, okay, Stan?
Okay.
And then our next regularly scheduled meeting is November 20th, right here at 6:30, unless we have an issue, non-public issue that we have to address earlier.
Did we, before we close, didn't we put video equipment down at Henry Wilson for the purpose of going between the two buildings? I just, for some reason, did that actually happen? Yes. Yes? Thank you.
Before my time, but I'm not unwilling to do a meeting at Henry Wilson.
No, I'm just
Well,
putting it out there that we invested in it for
Yeah.
that purpose.
Yeah. So we could always go down there and do a regular meeting. We're not gonna take the workshop, but,
No.
yeah. Okay, thank you to those of you who viewed from home tonight. Thank you to those of you who came out. Appreciate the administrators being here to present an overview of their budget. I will entertain a motion to go into non-public session 2 under RSA 91A:3, 2A, B, and C for nominations and resignations. So moved by Mr. Frieda, second by Ms. McElhenney. All those in favor by roll. Aye. Good night, folks.